Okay, today we're going to discuss a divided empire. Yesterday we discussed like the establishment of Rome becoming an empire. A little background story that you probably want on Rome is that Rome went through several processes. They had tried to have forms of like similar to democracy. We had the rulership of the triumvirate, which is a rulership of three, and we tried that 3 times and it did not work for Rome. Ultimately, that led to the assassination of Julius Caesar. He was part of the second triumvirate, and what happened was his adopted son Augustus later takes over and decides that Rome needs to be an empire. So when we talk about this empire, it grows large, it grows vast, it becomes, it's like a machine. There's provinces or states under Rome that are spanning from Europe, Asia, and even to northern Africa. What's going to happen is that there will be 200 years of the Pax Romana under Marcus Aurelius, which Pax Romana is like the peace that existed within the Roman Empire. Everyone gets along, everything's running smoothly, and it lasted for about 200 years. And so when we discuss the Pax Romana, what you need to remember is that it was an awesome time for Rome. But with every rise of an empire, there's always going to be a fall, and that is going to begin with Commodus's reign. It began to fail. Here's the issue. When we look at this map and we zoom in a little bit, you looked at a map yesterday that was red and it showed you the whole empire. Some difficulties of managing an empire is that you have to have a military big enough to protect all your borders. You have to have leadership under the emperor that is supportive and everybody's on the same page. An emperor can't be everywhere. It's very similar to like a bureaucracy in ancient Egypt. The emperor is going to designate people to rule the areas under him in the empire. Everybody has to be cohesive. Everyone has to get along. And when you don't, or somebody else wants to take the role of emperor, there can be some problems, okay? And so, with Commodus's reign, it's going to start to fail. Rome is too large. And Diocletian is going to come in and he is going to divide the empire into two. He believes this will ease the management of the empire. Now, I want you to think about, we've discussed Greece and how when ancient Greece fought amongst itself and caused a civil war, it looked vulnerable to other people. And so I want you to think about how dividing this empire in half, yes, this Emperor Diocletian believes, this will be easier to manage, but how does it look to outside groups who are not part of the Roman Empire? I want you to think back to Greece reference and think about the vulnerability of this empire now that it's divided into two. And the second big thing, kind of nail in the coffin for the empire, is going to be when Constantine comes into power. Constantine is a great emperor. Well, I don't know if he's necessarily like a super awesome emperor, but he's a good emperor, and he ultimately converts to Christianity. And so when he does that, he's taking the polytheism of Rome and he's making it monotheistic in the worshiping of Jesus Christ and God. And he is also going to alleviate the persecution of Christians, things like that. But one big thing that he does for the empire is that he's going to move the capital of Rome to Byzantium, which is like the eastern part, the purple area on the map, and then he's going to rename it Constantinople after himself. This is kind of something that, plays into the fall of Rome. And if you look at this map here, you can see the Western Empire to the west is going to be in the orange. So that includes Rome, Italy, all of those areas. But what Constantine will do is move this capital over into the Eastern Empire of Rome, and he will name it Constantinople. If you are familiar with maps, which we should be by now, this is Turkey. This is modern-day Turkey, okay? Greece, Italy, Spain, Northern Africa, Paris, London. So you can see this will be France later. This will be Britain, okay? But you can see the major cities of Athens, what else? Carthage, which I don't think I really spoke much about Hannibal, but Hannibal was a leader that came from Carthage and tried to fight Rome over the Mediterranean Sea because they wanted the trade routes. Alexandria, named after Alexander the Great. So when you're looking at this empire, I want you to think in your notes right now and jot these down. What are some pros and cons to the division of the empire? Brainstorm some on this T-chart. A pro is something that's good. What do you think would be good about dividing an empire? I already gave you one where it's like easier to manage, and that's what they believed. And then a con would be something that's not good, like being vulnerable to attack. You take a moment to yourself on your notes and jot some pros and cons down. We will touch base after the video. And just remember that this T-chart is related to the division of the Roman Empire. The next thing I want you to look at one more time is the division of the empire, so you can see that it's divided from east to west. Now, a couple things are going to happen in 476 CE, which is Common Era. The Ostrogoths are going to sack Rome. And what it means to sack Rome is it means that they're going to attack Rome. And here's the thing. Rome, after this division of the empire, there's not going to be enough military to hold the borders down. And another thing that's going to happen is, in the military we have generals, and generals are going to have their own personal gain in mind. So they're not thinking about Rome as a whole. Like, they get people to join their military, their army, because they want to loot and steal and do things like that, whereas they're not as concerned about protecting the borders. If you have an area that is weak along your borderline, someone can attack and intervene and come in, and then once one weak point is known, it will be known to all. And so what will happen to the Western Roman Empire, it's not going to exist anymore. It's going to fall. But in the East, the empire is going to remain for like 1,000 years. So where Constantine created Constantinople, that area of Rome will still exist. But the western part that consists of Italy, some of northern Africa, that area will fall and be open to invasion, and the Ostrogoths will rule over it. If you look over here at this map, so take a look, Ostrogothic kingdom here. The Franks will take over. So you can see that several groups will come in and take over. The Vandals will take over northern Africa, Ostrogoths. But then you see that the East Roman Empire, with the capital of Constantinople, still remains strong. When we talk about this eastern part of the Roman Empire, it will be named the Byzantine Empire. And so the capital of the Byzantine Empire will be Constantinople. Remember, it's named after the Emperor Constantine from Rome. A couple things with Constantinople and that area of Turkey and Eastern Europe, it's going to influence social, political, and economic aspects of Russia, and it will help lead to the development of Russia as a nation, but Russia develops a bit later. I'll give you an example. The Cyrillic alphabet is something that is used in Russia. It is their form of writing, and that is something that originated from the Byzantine Empire. Another thing that we need to understand is that geographically, the Byzantine Empire now is Eastern Europe and modern-day Turkey. So you can see Russia, the Ukraine, Poland, Germany, all of these areas here are part of Eastern Europe. There will be Western Europe here. And also you have Turkey down here as well. Okay, remember Constantinople's in this area. Asia is to your east, Africa is to your south, and North America is to your east, okay, or to your west, excuse me. All right, now the greatest contribution that Byzantine Empire gave us, or gave, history of the world, is that they have the Justinian Code. Now, Justinian was an emperor over the Byzantine Empire. He was also known as Justinian the Great because he did some wonderful things. He was a great leader. He was strong, had a strong military force. He created Justinian's Code, which anytime you hear anything about code, what's the other word you need to think of? Laws. Very good. And so what Justinian's going to do is he's going to create this system of laws that served, as some of it has foundations for international law that we have now, but it is related to laws on marriage, property, slaves, and other issues. And one thing that we need to understand is that Justinian Code is very similar to like Hammurabi's Code, that it helps solidify for the future that laws need to be written down, that laws need to be oriented, and when I say oriented, I mean developed, or like developed for your society, okay? When we are dealing with laws towards slavery, that means that their society in the Byzantine Empire had slaves. marriage, people-owned property, business transactions, things like that. It's just like the laws that we have in America now. We have laws that are based on American society. Also, just a fun fact, Justinian lived for like 82 years. So he held down his empire, and he created this amazing code. It was strict as well. He was